Today, Precarious plays
Samurai Legend Musashi.
So, I mean, like, visually they're similar in, like, I think the type of art that they're trying to reference. But, like, really, I don't find these two games that similar. Like, it doesn't make me feel the same at all.
So, probably referencing a lot of manga, I would say, because of, like, the thick line work. Ooh, boy.
Yeah, I do have to say that this feels a lot more Eastern. Whereas Wind Waker, despite, I don't know, I might just be talking out my ass. But Wind Waker reminds me of Western cartoons a little bit more because everything's kind of like round and... But then I think about like chibi stuff and it reminds me... And then I'm like, well, no, I mean, that's very...
Wind Waker didn't actually have... It didn't have, like, thick line work, did it?
I mean, it kind of did. Like, just think of the clouds and the boat.
You know what? I was mostly thinking of the character design. I think you're right.
They both...
And the concept art had a lot of thick lines.
Yeah, the concept art did a lot. Like, I think that they played with the idea of making things look drawn. And so this is a game for the PlayStation 2. Did it get released on the GameCube?
What, this game?
Yeah.
No, this is a PS2 title.
They didn't do that as much.
You know what?
Did they?
Remind me, once we're done dissecting like the games a little bit, the question, remind me to tell you about the social business climate of Nintendo and Square at the time, because that will explain some stuff.
I think I've heard some things, but I wouldn't mind a refresher.
So,
how old were we? You know what? Doesn't matter.
We would have been
school.
middle school, late middle school to early high school for both of the titles, I believe.
Yeah, so I think that it speaks to the types of games that I would expect from the PlayStation 2 versus the GameCube. Like, when I think of GameCube games, with the exception of Resident Evil 4, I think of cute, like, intricate, interesting games, like Pikmin, and like Wind Waker.
See,
and stuff.
That's peculiar
like that.
to me. Hold on, we're getting... There are so many things that I want to talk about. So hold on. First off, let's address this, because we'll come back to this one, because it's going to be a much longer conversation, and I can address the other things much more quickly.
Uh-huh.
In reverse order...
Ooh.
In reverse order, I don't actually think that that's true. I think that while a handful of very famous, very memorable GameCube titles are a little more plucky, a little more bright and memorable for that. You didn't play... Metroid Prime is a big example.
Yeah, I started to, but not.
Twilight Princess was initially intended to be... Like, it was conceived as a GameCube game, and they just ported it to the Wii.
Mm-hmm.
There are a number of titles much closer, I'd say, to Resident Evil 4 than, say, Mario Sunshine in their visual presentation.
Yeah.
That were on the GameCube that were great. A lot of, like, snowboarding and sport-type titles, Wave Race. I think Blue Storm, Wave Race Blue Storm was a GameCube title. So just keep that in mind, that it wasn't all just adorability.
Yeah. Animal Crossing, though, was that...
That was originally conceived as an N64 title and then was enhanced a little and released on the GameCube.
Yeah, so like those
I'm sorry, I think in Japan it may have been on the N64 first. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, but that's like when I think of the GameCube and the types of games that were really great on the GameCube that I came into contact with, they were all like sweet, amazing little, just, I don't know. Like, it always felt like you were...
They were baby games. Just
no,
come out and say it.
No, like, growing up games, coming of age games. Like, everything is cute and lovely, and oh my god, shit just got real. You better toughen up. You know?
Like, oh, look at all the little flowering creatures that are helping you. And did that thing just eat all of them?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you just need juice for your planet, but also you're going to have to survive because this place, it's dangerous. So put on your pants.
So this is very peculiar. Because Musashi uses his sword to open the chest, more often than not, I try to attack it
Yeah.
to open it.
That's funny.
So I don't know why it just doesn't let me attack it to open it.
Probably because they wanted to make it feel more special than just opening your average crate. Wow, that guy missed.
They could have given it an HP meter, so you would have had to have wailed on it for a bit.
Yeah.
That's what Bayonetta does.
Or they could have all been mimics. I hate mimics. Especially Dark Souls mimics. They're not good. They're bad. Very bad.
So
Unfriendly nasties.
there was something in the middle that we wound up not finishing talking about.
Yeah.
Do you recall what it was? Ooh, I guess not.
Art style. I do not recall.
Well, here's something that I want to talk about. Comparing it to Zelda again.
Yeah.
I don't think this game borrowed enough from the Zelda formula. First, here, you know what would probably be more helpful because you were not quite seeing like how they compare?
Yeah.
Let me compare the two games. They both have the same basic method of control. It's the camera is roughly in the same position away from your character.
Yeah.
You use a stick to move around on usually a flat plane.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the challenge of navigating the environment is using various abilities and tools you have at your disposal to overcome changes in elevation.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think about Wind Waker in particular, there's the hook shot, the grappling hook, and the Deku leaf and the Deku flowers that shoot you up. Mm-hmm. All of those are just different ways to deal with changes in elevation, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that... I'm getting ahead of myself again. So at the base level, the primary way that you interface with the environment and the enemies, which is attacking things with the sword, is the same. So are you on board yet?
Yeah,
Do I need to keep
I would
going?
say that the thing that is the most the same is that both protagonists are dudes with swords.
Dudes with swords. That
Dudes with swords.
wander around 3D environment, right?
Swordsing. Yes.
So now I want to look at what they added to the game, and then what they took out of the game, because I honestly think,
Like in comparison to Zelda?
yeah, Wind Waker
Wind Waker,
specifically.
yeah.
Yeah, because again, I'm operating under the assumption that this was conceived as a competitor to that franchise, right? And I don't think they ripped off enough. I think that they either should have ripped off more of the Zelda formula, or they should have tried harder to include new stuff. I think that they dropped too much without replacing enough.
Yeah.
Ooh, boy. This is fun. Like, this is pretty tense right now, trying to dodge all of the enemies, because if I get hit, I'll lose my focus.
Oh, yeah, but you're trying to learn something, right?
Right.
Oh, you learned a new technique.
I'm pretty sure this is the stunning fist. Yeah, so now I can pick enemies up and carry them around.
Hazelizing? Oh, is that supposed to be an R?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Somebody was feeling enthusiastic with them brush strokes. Oh, that was cool. Did you see how all the outlines shone through the mist?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, that's one thing that is actually really cool about this game, is that for all of the stuff that's happening on the screen, they did enough visual tricks to make sure that you can still read Musashi most of the time.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you can tell really well when you're in a cloud that they outlined him with colors based on what the fill of the area was. Because, like, his body still looks pink and his hair still looks brown. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to say, though, like, the feel that I get from this game is definitely very different from how I feel about Wind Waker, even though it is definitely game of dude with sword running around helping.
Yeah, it's peculiar because even though this is arguably darker and more mature because the protagonist is designed a little more seriously. He's a little older looking than Link. His weapons are a little more fierce. His animations are a little more fierce. It is maybe more scary and more grown up and maybe even a little gruesome because of the focus on like chopping enemies apart.
Yeah.
All of that aside, it's less serious than Wind Waker.
Like, it feels much more like doofy teenager. Like, preteen, like, everything with flames on it is cooler.
Yeah.
Type of, like, oh man, look at my sword. I mean, like, it's definitely that. Like, 100%. But, and not that there's anything specifically wrong with that, but, I mean, what is on the outside of his pants and what is it for, you know?
Yeah, okay.
Like
so we'll keep going, but we'll keep, oh jeez. Okay, sorry. He suddenly, I think it's the same basic enemy, but his outfit suddenly looked really dark and scary. Okay.
Like a booga booga boo.
So, more later. We're gonna take a quick tiny break. Okay.
Okay.
That guy really scared me.